Hey everybody, welcome to mine and Ridge Armory. Today we're going to be reviewing and taking a look at the Swampfox Optics Liberty. Alright, so a few months back, about July of this year, I purchased the Swampfox Optics Liberty optic, and I also additionally purchased the Ironsides protective cover for it that they sell separately on Swampfox Optics website. And I've been running it as part of my everyday carry ever since July, the end of July. And as of the filming of this video, today's November 18th. Sorry, 19th, correction. Today's November 19th, just before Thanksgiving of 2020. So I won't go bore you with all the specifications. Maybe I can splice in a screen here where, I can show some of the website, some of the specifications directly from the vendor's website instead of having to bore you with the details. But what I do want to talk about is some of the specifics about the optic with regards to pros and cons and whether I would, spend my money on it or not. And I want to start with the glass on this optic. I'll start there and kind of work my way down from it. So the glass on it, it comes in two versions. It comes in the Liberty and the Justice. I don't own the Justice yet, although I am probably going to pick that up here in the next few months and kind of give it a run for its money too. One of them is, I think, a 27 millimeter, and then the other one is a 29 millimeter glass. And the difference is, what they're trying to get with that difference in glass is the width on the slide of your pistol. So the Liberty compared to the Justice is smaller, and it matches more of a flush along the side of the slide. The glass itself at the 27 millimeter does give me plenty of quick target acquisition. It gives me plenty of room. I don't struggle for the black of the surrounding shroud to be in the way, or the metal cover. It doesn't give me a hard time in target acquisition or dot acquisition. So, I don't have any problems there. This is a shake and wake design with a 3 MOA dot at 1x magnification, which means nothing. It means it's not magnified at all. It's just pretty much a clear, pristine glass with a 3 MOA dot inside of it. And the up and down adjustments will adjust it through a range of, I want to say it's like 8 to 10 clicks. I may have to look, I may stand corrected on that from the website. Excuse me. And then as you lay it down, it goes to sleep after a period of time. And then as you move it, that motion will wake the dot up. And that helps with the battery life and helps with the longevity of the optic too. I mean, it's going to help with the beam not being on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But bear that in mind as we get into talking about those adjustments up and down. So it is not an auto adjust, it is a manual adjust. You do have to adjust it based on the environment, whether it's a low light or a bright light environment, and your use case for what you're going to be doing with it. And then obviously it has a top loading battery compartment that's a Torx head screw. It has an elevation flathead screw and a windage flathead screw on either side to make those adjustments. So as you can imagine, with the top loading battery on an RMR footprint, once you get that bolted into place using a little bit of Loctite, you're not, for the most part, going to have to worry about ever re-zeroing that on the up or the down axis, the windage or the elevation axis. So I chose to purchase the separate purchase of the Ironsides shroud for my optic. It was an extra, I think, 40 or 50 bucks for the shroud, but I put my optics through kind of some tough runs, and I tend to trust them and treat them a little harsher than other people would. I tend to use it for racking off of my belt, for racking off of my hand. You know, I bump, push, scratch, scrape, toss, throw. You know, I treat my firearm like a true tool. And so I wanted that extra value of being able to have that shroud to give it a little extra protection and to absorb and distribute impacts across the shroud, as opposed to transitioning that into the optic or the glass or the red dot potentially. So that then gives it the ability, and you'll notice that if I can splice in some video here, you'll notice that the shroud barely sticks over the lip of the Liberty optic all the way around on all sides. So even if you caught an edge, it's going to get that shroud before it hits the optic. So that, you know, that pretty much gives it an extra level of protection, short of anything directly hitting the glass or directly hitting the beam itself. So that's a nice touch. But again, I did spend extra to get that. I do want to talk about some of the things I liked about the optics and some of the things I didn't like about the optic. So for starters, what I did like about it is one of the key and most positive attributes of the Swampfox Liberty is that it has an RMR footprint. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you know, this is a Brownell slide with an RMR footprint cut, and I wanted something that fit in there, fit low enough to co-witness pretty well, and that fit that RMR footprint without having to use an adapter plate and bring that line of sight over bore axis of bore up any higher than I had to. The lens itself has a multicolor ruby red coating over the top of it. And now that doesn't mean that it's red when you look through it, but if you look at it from the front, you can see a slightly reddish tint. Now that tinting is anti-fog, anti-scratch, anti-hydraulic, you know, whatever. So basically speaking, it is designed to be clear, not fog up based on your moisture from your body or sweat, and to just work and be as visible and clear when you need it as possible. And it does obviously the pros of the rigidity of the optic, the shake and wake, the ability for you to lay it down and it go to sleep and then wake back up are just bonuses for it for sure. All right, so from a ruggedness standpoint, how rugged is this thing? How much can you trust your life to it? So as an anecdotal story, I can tell you that I was conducting a class with some guys, or it was a private class, and we were doing a shoot, and I was having a conversation with them about how this thing is a tool and about how all firearms are tools, and that if you can't trust your firearm as a tool to get the job done under adverse conditions, then why are you trusting your life to it and your family's life to it? So anecdotally, I didn't catch it on camera, but I did take the pistol, and we'll make sure it's unloaded here. I did take the pistol when I was talking to him about it, and literally just hurled it boomerang style a good, I'd say about 17 feet out off of a porch that was about 3.5 to 4 foot elevated off of the ground. And so you do the math on that. That arc of distance out about 15 to 17 feet and then down about 3 or 4 feet. And it impacted directly on, I don't know if you can get that on the video or not, but it impacted directly on in between where the iron sides metal cover and the glass of the Liberty optic is. And all it did was get it a little bit muddy, a little bit dirty. Zero off, it didn't change the trajectory, change anything. You can actually still see some of the dirt on the end of the Brownell's barrel there. But bottom line is, you know, that's an anecdotal story. So what I thought is on camera, a couple shots of me doing a semi-accuracy test on this steel down here and pinging it with a shot, and then drop this thing a couple times and see if I could get it to stay zeroed after dropping. Now obviously this will only be, you know, I'm 5'10", so it'll be, you know, me dropping it from chest height, so 5 foot up to the ground, and we'll see how it responds. But first off, let's see if I can get it on steel for the first shot to get just a baseline. So I'm going to take my time on these shots and try to get them on the head of that steel IDPA target. Okay, so you can see that actually hit pretty good dead center of his face. Now you can see I'm going to drop the firearm, and I'm going to stomp it one good time, just for good measures. And then we're going to reload it with one, and and we're going to see if it held 0. Assuming I can hit it correctly on the second shot too. There you go. So we're gonna reset up that shot, and we're gonna do that one more time, just for, you know, so that you won't think that it was just some kind of crazy anomaly. And by the way, I'm gonna drop it a time or two on camera here for you to see that I'm not just doing this. This isn't some kind of internet magickery. This is legit. You know, I'm trusting my firearm to it. And I'm gonna do a continuous shot on this. You can already see how much mud it's getting on that thing, what the impact is doing. So you can see that I'm not faking this at all. There's no cutaway shots, no nothing. This is just pure, how's this thing gonna work? Can I trust my life to it? So it's one more shot, and again, you see all the mud and all the good juicy stuff there. Okay, now I pushed down and to the left a little bit on that one, I think. We'll check the footage on that and see. So you know what, let's do it one more time, just for good measures. Make sure that was me and not the optic losing 0. By the way, kudos to my Olight Valkyrie PL2 Mini on that too. It's holding pretty well too. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Let's see, make sure it still held 0 after all that beating. There you go. I pushed down left a little bit again on that one, but you can still see by the footage, or hopefully you can see by the footage, I'll try to splice it in there, that regardless, I'm keeping it within, I hit 2 times here, 1 time here, and then once here. So, you know, this is a straight line right there, and I'm holding after all that drop test and everything. And you can see now how dirty I've gotten that thing. Okay. Now I do that just because you know my philosophy on being able to trust your life to your firearm and it being a tool. If I can't trust it to drop it just 5 feet or to chunk it into dirt, you know, this pretty hard packed red mud clay. But if I can't trust it to do that, then what's going to happen if I drop it in a parking lot or somebody knocks it out of my hand, or I have to, you know, or you know, again, trusting your life to it. So there you go, anecdotal evidence for you. Take it with a grain of salt. Do what you want to with that. Another pro for it is those large tactile buttons, and the very tactile windage and elevation adjustments. So I have the utmost in confidence that, you know, even wearing gloves, I can pick those up and move them up or down quickly like I need to, and can even, without gloves on, you can even feel what the arrow is, whether it's an up or a down arrow, to give you that quick move up, move down. And again, very tactile, you know it's there, it's a solid push, that kind of thing. Now, the dot itself lasted me, and that's going to lead me from a pro and a con. So one of the pros I just mentioned is the shake and wake feature. Love the fact that I can turn this thing on, get it set roughly where I want it set, lay it down, and then it goes to sleep like overnight. Or if I'm sitting still in a concealed carry position, it's going to go to sleep and it will only wake on movement, or if I stand up, those kinds of things. Love that feature as far as battery longevity, beam longevity, just overall longevity of the product. That's a definite pro. That does lead me to a con though. It takes a CR1632 battery, which is a pretty common battery, and when I got my optic in July, about late July, threw the battery in, it came out of the box, I set the dot to about 8/10 full power, not 3/4. I was actually above 3/4. I was closer to maximum power. And then, you know, just used it normal, carried it around all day as my primary concealed carry firearm, you know, left it laying in a secure position of the evenings at night when I wasn't wearing it on my body. You know, when it would wake up, or the next morning wake up, and, you know, I don't even have to shake it or do anything. It would just, you know, just be the act of me putting it on my person in my normal carry position woke the dot up. Again, and I want to emphasize that your mileage may vary on this con, and you need to understand that my criterion was that it was 8/10 beam. It was the out of the box battery, which, to be fair to Swampfox Optics, was a pretty crappy battery. They sent, you know, a free battery along with your initial optic, and it was a pretty crappy. Long story longer, the battery lasted me almost 8 weeks or 2 months to the day. So it was from July to right at the end of September. When I pulled it out one morning before I left to get ready and pack everything up, the dot didn't come on. And so I reholstered it and did it again, and then I shook it, just like, what's going on? Is it the shake and wake? Still didn't come on. And so I reholstered it and went on, just kind of messed around and got the rest of the stuff from my pockets, and then took a look at it and it was back on. So I also noticed that the beam or the dot was not as bright, and I hadn't touched the buttons. So that told me, hey, it's probably the battery. And again, this is right at 2 months or 8 weeks after I purchased it and got the firearm, or got the optic. I replaced the battery, and it has been running since then. Now again, it is November 19th, 2020, and that was roughly the 20th to the 23rd of September. So I can't speak to, I'm at that 2 month mark again as I'm filming this video. And so I can't tell you whether the battery that I had as an aftermarket battery is going to do a better job than the one that came in the box or not, or if it's going to be running 2 to 3 months. My guess and assumption is, with me running the battery that high, is that at least once a quarter, you're probably going to have to replace the battery in this optic. So look to replace it about 4 times a year. So I'm calling that a con, not because of, just like any other optic, you're going to have to police your battery and you're going to have to make sure that you've got a good fresh battery in there before you use it. But because the fact that, that cheap battery only lasted me 2 weeks, or 2 months, if this thing only lasts me about 2 months on average instead of about 3 to 4 months, that's going to be a little disappointing. Your mileage will definitely vary, and take that con with a grain of salt. So the bottom line, would I spend my money on this optic, and would I trust my life? Would I spend my money on it? I did. Full disclosure, Swampfox Optics did not send me this optic for free for me to review. They did offer me a pretty good discount when I contacted them about some of their optics, so I did pay my hard-earned money at a reasonable discount for this optic. So would I pay this price for it, the full price for it? Absolutely. Again, if I'm looking for something with an RMR footprint to mount on a pistol, whether it's the Liberty or the Justice, competition, concealed carry, whatever my use case is, I absolutely would spend my money on it. Would I trust my life to it? Well, I have been. Since July, this has been one of my primary concealed carry optics. Just like with any other optic that I review, I carry them for months and months on end before I produce the review and make sure whether I can actually count on it and trust my life to it. I have trusted my life with it since July, and so I am confident in saying that not necessarily military and or law enforcement use, those kinds of things, I can't speak for them, but as an everyday citizen just doing concealed carry or competition shooting, absolutely, I would definitely trust my life and the life of my family with this optic. So hopefully some of this information, this review, has been helpful for you if you're looking at and trying to decide whether you want to buy the Swampfox Liberty. Until we see you out on the range again, you keep living your dream.